You've been sold a lie. A lie so deeply embedded in our culture that questioning it feels almost rebellious. They told you, work harder, sacrifice more, grind until you drop. And you believed it. We all did. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. The wealthiest people in the world don't work the hardest. They work the smartest. And today you're about to discover exactly how they do it. This isn't theory. This isn't motivation. This is a blueprint, a system, a way of thinking that will fundamentally change your relationship with money, time, and success. Before we begin, if you want more content like this, real strategies for financial freedom and intelligent wealth building, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your future self will thank you. Now let's begin your transformation. Chapter 1. The Success Prison. You wake up at 6 a.m. Rush through breakfast. Sit in traffic for an hour. Work for 8, 9, sometimes 10 hours. Come home exhausted. Repeat. 5 days a week. 50 weeks a year. For 40 years. And they call this success. But here's what they don't tell you. This system wasn't designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to make you useful. There's a difference. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was a mechanical engineer. Brilliant mind. Worked for a Fortune 500 company for 15 years. Pulled in a six-figure salary, $165,000 to be exact. Had the nice house in the suburbs, the German car, the prestigious title. On paper he'd made it. His parents were proud. His friends were envious. He'd climbed the ladder. But Marcus had a secret. Despite earning well over $150,000 a year, he was living paycheck to paycheck. One unexpected expense away from financial disaster. Why? Because every time his income went up, so did his lifestyle. Bigger house meant bigger mortgage. Newer car meant higher payments. Private schools for the kids. Country club membership. Luxury vacations to keep up with the neighbors. He was trapped in what I call the success prison, looking wealthy while feeling broke. Then at 42 years old, Marcus lost his job. Company restructuring. Last in, first out. 15 years of loyalty meant nothing. And everything unraveled. The savings he thought would last 6 months were gone in 3. The lifestyle that felt normal suddenly felt suffocating. But here's where the story gets interesting. During his unemployment, Marcus started consulting. Small projects at first. A former colleague needed help with a design problem. Then another. Word spread. But he structured these projects differently than his old job. Instead of trading hours for dollars, he created systems. Templates. Standardized processes that clients could implement without him being there every step of the way. He built a library of solutions. A methodology. A framework. Within 2 years, Marcus was earning $180,000 a year. More than his old salary. But here's the kicker. He was working 20 hours a week. Not 40. Not 50. 20. He spent mornings having coffee with his kids. Afternoons at the gym. Evenings actually present with his family instead of recovering from exhaustion. What changed? Not his skills. Not his work ethic. Not his intelligence. His mindset. Marcus discovered what the wealthy have known for centuries. Your time is your most valuable asset, and the moment you stop trading it directly for money is the moment you start building real wealth. This is the fundamental shift most people never make. They think wealth comes from working harder. More hours. More hustle. More sacrifice. They wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. They brag about their lack of sleep. They romanticize the grind. But that's the lie. Real wealth comes from leverage. From creating assets that work while you sleep. From building systems that multiply your effort instead of limiting it to your personal capacity. Think about it. A doctor can only see so many patients. Even at $500 per hour, there are only so many hours in a day. A lawyer can only bill so many hours. A consultant can only take so many meetings. Their income has a ceiling, the number of hours they can physically work multiplied by their hourly rate. But an author writes a book once and it sells for decades. Stephen King wrote The Shining in 1977. It's still generating royalties almost 50 years later. A software developer creates an app once, and it generates revenue with every download. Instagram was built by 13 employees and sold for $1 billion. An investor buys an apartment building once, and it produces rental income year after year, decade after decade. See the difference? The first group trades time for money. The second group uses time to build money-making machines. So which are you? If you're honest with yourself, you're probably in the first group. And that's okay. Most people are. We were raised that way. Educated that way. Our parents modeled it. Our teachers reinforced it. Society conditioned us to believe that hard work alone is enough. Get good grades, go to college, get a good job, work your way up, retire at 65. But it isn't enough. Not anymore. The industrial age is over. The rules have changed. The information age rewards different skills, different thinking, different strategies. The people getting ahead aren't necessarily working harder than you. They're playing a different game entirely. Here's what you need to understand. Every dollar you earn from your job is a dollar that required your presence, your time, your energy, your attention. Miss a day, lose a day's pay. Get sick, go unpaid. Take a vacation, watch your income pause. Retire, and the money stops completely. That's not wealth. That's employment. And employment, no matter how well paid, is just sophisticated slavery to the clock. Real wealth is waking up to find you made money while you slept. It's taking a month off and coming back to find your income didn't just continue. It grew. It's having the freedom to say no to opportunities that don't align with your values because your financial security doesn't depend on any single income source. Now, I'm not saying you should quit your job tomorrow. That's reckless. What I'm saying is you need to start thinking like an asset builder, not just a wage earner. You need to see your job as a temporary funding source for your real wealth building activities, not the destination itself. And that starts with 3 fundamental shifts. First, stop measuring your worth by your work hours. Start measuring it by your impact in your systems. One smart decision that creates a passive income stream is worth more than 1,000 hours of manual labor. The person who spends 6 months building an online course that sells for years is wealthier than the person who works 60-hour weeks for that same 6 months. Even if they make the same money in the short term, the long-term trajectories are completely different. Second, stop spending raises. Start investing them. The wealthy don't increase their lifestyle every time they make more money. They increase their asset base. Every promotion, every bonus, every windfall goes into investments that generate returns. The lifestyle comes later, funded by the assets, not the income. This is the secret to breaking the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle even at high income levels. Third, stop thinking like an employee. Start thinking like an owner. Even if you work for someone else, ask yourself, how can I create something that generates value beyond my direct effort? Can I systematize my knowledge? Can I build tools others can use? Can I create intellectual property? The shift from worker to creator is the shift from limited to unlimited income potential. These shifts sound simple. They're not. They require you to unlearn decades of conditioning, to swim against the current of societal expectations, to disappoint people who think you're not working hard enough when you're actually working smarter, to resist the temptation to inflate your lifestyle when everyone around you is buying bigger houses and newer cars. But here's what happens when you make these shifts. Your income starts to decouple from your time. You start earning money from multiple sources. You build breathing room in your budget. You create options. You buy back your time. You gain freedom. And one day, maybe 5 years from now, maybe 10, you wake up and realize you're no longer working for money. Money is working for you. That's not luck. That's not privilege. That's strategy. And it all starts with rejecting the lie that working harder is the answer. Because the answer isn't more effort. It's better direction. Chapter 2, The Scarcity Trap. Think about the last time you heard someone say, I can't afford that. Maybe it was you. Maybe it was someone close to you. Maybe you say it multiple times a week without even thinking about it. I can't afford that vacation. I can't afford to start a business. I can't afford to invest right now. But here's what's really happening. You're not making a financial statement. You're revealing your mindset. And that mindset is the real reason you're stuck. Let me tell you about Jennifer. Jennifer was a high school teacher. Dedicated, passionate about education, loved her students. But she was perpetually stressed about money. Made $52,000 a year in an expensive city. Rented a small apartment. Drove a 10-year-old car. Lived frugally. Clipped coupons. Bought generic brands. Did everything right, according to conventional wisdom. But she was trapped in scarcity thinking. When her friends invited her to invest $500 in a real estate crowdfunding opportunity, she said, I can't afford it. When a professional development course came up that could help her transition into educational consulting, she said, that's too expensive. When someone suggested she start a tutoring side business, she said, I don't have the money for marketing. Jennifer saw every dollar as something to protect, not something to deploy. Every opportunity was a threat to her limited resources rather than a chance to expand them. Then something shifted. Jennifer's father passed away and left her $15,000. Not a fortune, but significant for someone living paycheck to paycheck. And here's where the story splits into two possible paths: the path most people take and the path Jennifer actually took. Most people in Jennifer's situation would have paid off debt, maybe taken a small vacation and felt temporary relief. The money would have disappeared into the black hole of expenses, and 6 months later, nothing would have changed. But Jennifer made a different choice. She invested $3,000 in a comprehensive online course about building an educational consulting business. She spent $2,000 on basic marketing, a website, business cards, professional photos. She put $5,000 into a high-yield savings account as an emergency fund. She used $2,000 to attend an education conference where she networked with potential clients. And she invested the remaining $3,000 in 3 different dividend-paying stocks to learn about investing. Her friends thought she was crazy. "You should have paid off your credit cards," they said. "You should have saved all of it," others insisted. But Jennifer had realized something crucial. She wasn't broke because she lacked money. She was broke because she lacked assets that generated money. Within 18 months, Jennifer had built a consulting side business generating $30,000 a year. Her dividend stocks were small but growing. She'd been promoted at her school after implementing strategies she'd learned in that course. Her total income had jumped from $52,000 to $95,000. The $15,000 she invested in herself and her future had nearly tripled her annual income. What changed? Her bank account gave her options, yes. But more importantly, her mindset shifted from scarcity to abundance. Here's what most people don't understand. Scarcity thinking isn't about how much money you have. It's about how you see opportunity. It's about whether you view money as a finite resource to hoard or an infinite resource to circulate and multiply. Poor people see money as something to spend or save. Middle-class people see money as something to save and occasionally spend. Wealthy people see money as something to invest and multiply. The person with scarcity mindset says, "I can't afford to lose this money." The person with abundance mindset says, "I can't afford not to invest this money." The difference seems subtle. It's actually massive. Think about it. If you have $1,000 and you save it in a regular savings account earning 0.5% interest, you're actually losing money every year due to inflation. You're playing defense. You're protecting what you have. But you're not growing. If you invest that same $1,000 in learning a high-income skill, starting a side business, or buying an asset that appreciates, you're playing offense. Yes, there's risk. But there's also potential for multiplication. The scarcity mindset says, "What if I lose it?" The abundance mindset says, "What if I double it?" Same money. Completely different futures. Now here's the trap that catches most people. They think abundance mindset means being reckless with money. Spending freely. Living beyond your means. Being careless. That's not abundance. That's delusion. Real abundance mindset is about seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. It's about investing in assets, including yourself, rather than just consuming. It's about understanding that the highest return on investment often comes from expanding your capacity to earn, not from penny pinching your way to wealth. You cannot save your way to wealth on a median income. The math doesn't work. Even if you save 20% of a $60,000 salary, that's $12,000 a year. After 40 years, even with compound interest, you're not wealthy. You're just less poor. But if you invest that same $12,000 in building skills, creating assets, and expanding your income potential, you can double, triple, or 10x your earning capacity. Then saving becomes easy because you have more to save. So how do you actually shift from scarcity to abundance thinking? First, change your language. Stop saying, "I can't afford that." Start saying, "How can I afford that?" Or, "Is this worth affording?" The first statement closes your mind. The second opens it to creative solutions. You might still decide not to buy or invest in something, but you've approached it from possibility rather than limitation. Second, invest in yourself relentlessly. The best investment you'll ever make is in increasing your knowledge, skills, and capabilities. A $1,000 course that helps you earn an extra $10,000 a year is a 1,000% return in year one, and infinite returns every year after. No stock market investment comes close to that. Third, surround yourself with abundance-minded people. Scarcity is contagious. If everyone around you is complaining about what they can't afford, saying the economy is rigged, and playing victim to their circumstances, you'll unconsciously adopt those beliefs. Find people who talk about opportunities, who share resources, who celebrate others' success instead of resenting it. Fourth, practice small acts of abundance. Give away knowledge. Share resources. Help others without expecting anything in return. This isn't woo-woo manifestation nonsense. It's psychological training. Every time you give from a place of abundance rather than hoard from a place of scarcity, you're rewiring your brain to see wealth as flowing rather than fixed. Here's what to avoid: fake abundance, going into debt to appear wealthy, spending money you don't have on things that don't appreciate, confusing consumption with investment. The person driving a BMW they can't afford while living paycheck to paycheck doesn't have an abundance mindset. They have a status addiction funded by scarcity. Remember, true abundance mindset is about seeing wealth as creatable, not just obtainable. It's knowing that value can be generated, not just exchanged. It's understanding that your earning potential is far more important than your current earnings. The scarcity trap keeps you playing small. The abundance mindset lets you play the game of wealth creation that the truly wealthy have been playing all along. Quick reminder before we continue: if you're finding value in this, help others discover it too. A simple like tells the algorithm to share this with more people who need to hear it. Takes 2 seconds, creates lasting impact. Now let's dive deeper. Chapter 3: The Leverage Revolution. Here's a question that will change everything. How do you become worth more without working more? Most people never ask this question. They just accept that if they want more money, they need more hours. Want a raise? Work overtime. Want to double your income? Work twice as hard. Want to be rich? Work yourself to death and hope something works out. But that's not how wealth works. Let me tell you about David. David was a freelance graphic designer. Talented guy. Could create stunning brand identities, beautiful websites, compelling marketing materials. He charged $75 an hour, which seemed good. He worked 50 hours a week, sometimes 60 during busy periods. Made around $180,000 a year before taxes and expenses. Not bad, right? Upper middle class. Comfortable. But David was exhausted. Every dollar required his direct effort. Every project demanded his personal attention. Every client needed his specific skills. When he took a vacation, his income stopped. When he got sick, his income stopped. When he wanted to slow down, his income stopped. He built a well-paid job, not a business. Then David met Sarah at a design conference. Sarah was also a graphic designer, but she made $400,000 a year. And she worked about 25 hours a week. David couldn't understand it. Was she that much better than him? Did she charge $300 an hour? Did she have some secret client base? No. Sarah had discovered leverage. Instead of trading her time for money, Sarah had built 3 leverage systems. First, she created a design agency. She hired 3 junior designers at $30 an hour and charged clients $100 an hour for their work. She managed the client relationships, ensured quality control, and kept the $70 per hour difference. Her designers worked 40 hours a week each. That's 120 hours a week times $70 profit per hour. That's $8,400 a week, or about $400,000 a year from other people's time. Second, she created a library of design templates and sold them online for $49 to $199 each. She'd spent about 3 months creating 50 templates. Now they sold automatically through her website. Some weeks she made $500. Some weeks she made $3,000. All while doing nothing. That template library generated about $60,000 a year in passive income. Third, she'd recorded her design process and created an online course teaching small business owners how to design their own branding. Sold it for $299. Made about $50,000 a year from it. Created once, sold infinitely. David was using personal leverage, his own time and skills. Sarah was using 3 types of leverage: people leverage, product leverage, and intellectual property leverage. Same industry. Same basic skills. Completely different financial realities. This is the leverage revolution. And understanding it is the difference between working hard and getting wealthy. Here's what most people don't understand. There are only 24 hours in a day. If you're trading time for money, whether you're making $15 an hour or $500 an hour, you have a ceiling. Your maximum possible income is your hourly rate times the number of hours you can work. But leverage breaks that ceiling. Leverage means using something other than your personal time to create value. There are 4 main types. Labor leverage, using other people's time. This is what businesses do. You hire employees or contractors, pay them for their time, and charge clients more than you pay them. The difference is your profit. One person can manage 10 people. Those 10 people can each work 40 hours a week. You've suddenly multiplied your capacity by 10 without working 10 times more. Capital leverage, using money to make money. This is what investors do. You use your capital or borrowed capital to buy assets that appreciate or generate income. Real estate, stocks, Businesses. The money works for you. While you sleep, your investments are hopefully growing. Code leverage using technology and automation. This is what software companies do. Write code once, sell it infinite times. Create a system once, let it run forever. Build a website that makes sales automatically. Create a digital product that delivers itself. This is the newest and most powerful form of leverage because the marginal cost of replication is essentially zero. Media leverage using content to reach millions. This is what influencers, content creators, and personal brands do. Create a video once, millions can watch it. Write a book once, thousands can read it. Record a podcast once, it plays forever. You're leveraging distribution platforms to multiply your impact. The wealthy use all four types. The middle class uses one or two. The poor use none. But here's what's beautiful about our current era. You don't need to be born rich to access leverage anymore. 50 years ago, labor leverage required massive capital to hire people. Capital leverage required wealth to invest. Media leverage required owning TV stations or publishing houses. Code leverage didn't exist. Today, you can hire virtual assistants for $5 an hour. You can start investing with $10. You can reach millions for free on social media. You can build software with no-code tools. You can create digital products with a laptop and an internet connection. The barriers have never been lower. Yet most people still think like David did before he met Sarah, trading personal time for money and calling it success. So how do you actually implement leverage in your life? First, audit your time. Track everything you do for 1 week. How much of your time is spent on high-value activities that only you can do? How much is spent on low-value activities that someone else could do for $15 to $30 an hour? If you're making $100 an hour but spending 10 hours a week on tasks worth $20 an hour, you're losing $800 a week. That's $40,000 a year. Hire someone. Buy back your time. Focus on what you're worth. Second, create one digital product. 1. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be comprehensive. Just create something once that can sell multiple times. An ebook, a template, a mini course, a tool. Something where you invest the time up front and reap the benefits repeatedly. This single shift from service to product changes everything. Third, build systems, not solutions. Every time you solve a problem, ask, how can I solve this in a way that solves it for future problems too? Create templates. Document processes. Build frameworks. If you're doing the same type of work repeatedly, you should be refining a system, not starting from scratch each time. Systems are leverage. Fourth, invest every spare dollar. Not in things. In assets. Even if it's just $50 a month into an index fund. Even if it's just $100 into learning a new skill. Every dollar that goes into assets instead of liabilities is a dollar working for you. Compound this over years and the results are staggering. Fifth, think in terms of multiplication, not addition. Don't ask, how can I earn an extra $1,000? Ask, how can I build something that generates $1,000 a month? The first is additive, you work, you get paid, it's over. The second is multiplicative, you work once, you get paid repeatedly, it compounds. Here's what to avoid. Complexity for complexity's sake. Some people get so excited about leverage they try to build elaborate systems before they've mastered the basics. Start simple. Use one type of leverage well before adding another. A poorly run agency with 3 employees is worse than being a solo freelancer. A bad digital product that nobody buys is worse than direct client work. Master the fundamentals first, then scale. Remember, leverage is how you become worth more without working more. It's how the wealthy build wealth. It's how you break free from the time for money trap. David eventually learned this. Within 2 years of meeting Sarah, he'd restructured his entire business. Hired 2 designers. Created a template library. Built a course. His income tripled. His working hours halved. Same skills. Different strategy. Different life. Chapter 4. The Asset Acceleration Formula. Pop quiz. What's the difference between a $100,000 car and a $100,000 investment property? Both cost the same. Both provide utility. Both can make you feel successful. But one makes you poorer every day you own it. The other makes you richer. This is the fundamental distinction most people never learn. The difference between assets and liabilities. Let me tell you about Christina and Michael. Christina and Michael were twins. Both graduated college the same year. Both got jobs paying $70,000 annually. Both were smart, driven, and financially responsible by conventional standards. At their 10-year reunion, their parents expected them to be in similar financial positions. They weren't even close. Christina was worth negative $45,000. Michael was worth $385,000. Same starting point. Same income level. Wildly different outcomes. What happened? Christina followed traditional advice. She bought a nice car because she deserved it after college. Financed $35,000 at 6% interest. She rented a beautiful apartment in the trendy part of town for $2,200 a month because location matters. She bought nice furniture. Went on vacation twice a year. Had the latest iPhone. Ate out regularly. Dressed well. From the outside she looked successful. But every dollar Christina spent made her poorer. The car depreciated 20% the moment she drove it off the lot. The apartment rent, $26,400 a year, was gone forever. The furniture, the clothes, the restaurants, the vacations, all consumed. Enjoyed in the moment, then gone. Assets, zero. Liabilities, $35,000 car loan, $18,000 in credit card debt from lifestyle expenses. Net worth, negative $45,000, accounting for a small 401k. Michael took a different path. He bought a reliable used car for $8,000 cash. Ugly but functional. He rented a room in a house for $700 a month instead of getting his own place. Not glamorous but sufficient. He lived on $35,000 a year and invested the other $35,000. But here's the crucial part. Michael didn't just save money. He bought assets. He put $6,000 a year into a Roth IRA invested in index funds. After 10 years with compound growth, that's about $85,000. He saved $25,000 for a down payment and bought a duplex. He lived in one unit and rented out the other. The rent covered his mortgage. After 10 years, he'd paid down $60,000 in principal. The property had appreciated by $80,000, and he'd saved about $80,000 in living expenses by having the tenant cover his housing. He used another $10,000 to start a small e-commerce business that now generated $2,000 a month in profit, worth about $150,000 in value. Christina looked successful. Michael was wealthy. Here's what most people don't understand. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. It's that simple. It's that profound. Your primary residence? Unless you're renting out rooms or running a business from it, it's a liability. It costs you money every month. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance. Yes, it might appreciate. But appreciation only matters when you sell. Until then, it's taking money from you, not giving it to you. Your car? Liability. Depreciates in value, costs you in payments, insurance, gas, maintenance. Your designer clothes? Liability. Lose value the moment you wear them. Your fancy dinners? Liability. Consumed and gone. But a rental property that generates cash flow? Asset. Stocks that pay dividends? Asset. A business that produces profit? Asset. An online course that sells while you sleep? Asset. Intellectual property that generates royalties? Asset. The wealth formula is simple. Acquire assets. Minimize liabilities. Use assets to buy more assets. Let that cycle compound. The poverty formula is equally simple. Acquire liabilities. Use debt to buy more liabilities. Work harder to pay for liabilities. Repeat until broke or retired. Most people spend their entire lives following the poverty formula while thinking they're building wealth. They get a raise and buy a nicer car. Liability. They get a bonus and upgrade their apartment. Bigger liability. They get promoted and buy a bigger house. Even bigger liability. Their income goes up, their liabilities go up, but their assets stay flat. This is why you see people making $200,000 a year with the same financial stress as people making $50,000. More income, more liabilities, same lack of assets. The wealthy play a different game entirely. When they get a raise, they invest it. When they get a bonus, they buy assets. When they get promoted, they increase their asset acquisition rate while keeping their lifestyle the same. Their income goes up, their assets go up, their liabilities stay flat or decrease. After 20 years, the first person has a nice lifestyle funded by active income. The second person has a nice lifestyle funded by passive income. When the income stops, retirement, layoff, health issues, the first person is broke. The second person is fine. So how do you actually implement the asset acceleration formula? First, do an honest asset versus liability audit. List everything you own. Everything. Then ask the hard question, does this put money in my pocket or take it out? Be honest. Your house probably doesn't make you money. Your car definitely doesn't. Most of your possessions are liabilities. This isn't judgment, it's math. You need to see reality before you can change it. Second, commit to the 50-30-20 rule, but modified. Traditional advice says 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings. That keeps you middle class. The wealth building version: 50% needs, 20% wants, 30% asset acquisition. Every month, 30% of your income goes into buying assets. No exceptions. No excuses. This is non-negotiable if you want to build wealth. Third, use the asset test before every purchase over $500. Ask yourself, is this an asset or a liability? Will this put money in my pocket or take it out? If it's a liability, you need a compelling reason to buy it. Sometimes you need reliable transportation, you need decent housing. But you'll make dramatically different choices. A $15,000 reliable car instead of a $45,000 status symbol. A $1,200 apartment instead of a $2,200 lifestyle statement. Fourth, convert liabilities into assets whenever possible. Rent out your spare room. Lease your parking spot. Use your car for rideshare on weekends. Start a side business from home. These don't turn liabilities into pure assets, but they reduce the liability cost. A car that costs you $500 a month but generates $600 in rideshare income is actually a small asset. Fifth, reinvest all asset income. This is the compounding accelerator. When your rental property generates $300 a month cash flow, don't spend it. Save it until you have another down payment. When your dividend stocks pay out $150, reinvest it. When your side business makes $1,000 profit, invest it in growing the business or buy more assets. Let your assets buy more assets. This is how wealth compounds exponentially rather than linearly. Here's what to avoid: disguising liabilities as investments. A boat isn't an investment, even if you occasionally charter it. A vacation home isn't an investment, even if you Airbnb it twice a year. A collectible sports car isn't an investment, even if it might appreciate someday. Real assets generate regular, predictable cash flow or dividends. Everything else is speculation or consumption. Also avoid analysis paralysis. Some people get so obsessed with finding the perfect asset that they never buy anything. They research stocks for months. They analyze real estate deals forever. They plan and never execute. An imperfect asset purchase today is better than a perfect asset you never buy. Start building your asset base now, even if small. A $500 stock investment is infinitely better than $500 sitting in checking. Remember, your net worth isn't determined by what you earn. It's determined by what you keep and what that grows into. Christina earned the same as Michael but kept nothing. 10 years later, they're living in different financial universes. The asset acceleration formula is simple: buy assets. Minimize liabilities. Reinvest asset income. Repeat. Do this consistently for a decade and you'll be wealthier than 90% of people. Do it for 2 decades and you'll be financially free. Quick reminder before we continue: if you're finding value in this, help others discover it too. A simple like tells the algorithm to share this with more people who need to hear it. Takes 2 seconds, creates lasting impact. Now let's dive deeper. Chapter 5. The Compound Effect. There's a question that separates the wealthy from everyone else. It's not, how much can I make? It's, how can this grow? Compound interest has been called the 8th wonder of the world. Einstein supposedly said, he who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. But compound interest is just one application of a more powerful principle: the compound effect. Let me tell you about Rachel and Tom. Rachel and Tom were colleagues at a marketing firm. Both started as junior account managers at 25 years old. Same salary, $55,000. Same opportunities. Same challenges. Fast forward 30 years. Rachel retired at 55 worth $3.8 million. Tom retired at 62 worth $180,000. What happened? The decisions weren't dramatic. There was no lottery win. No inheritance. No lucky break. Just small, consistent choices that compounded over decades. At 25, Rachel started investing $400 a month. Tom said he'd start when he could afford it. Rachel invested in herself, took courses, read books, attended seminars. Tom stuck with what he knew. Rachel asked for raises annually and changed jobs strategically every 3 to 4 years. Tom stayed comfortable and loyal, waiting for promotions. By 30, Rachel was making $75,000. Tom was making $60,000. A $15,000 gap. Rachel kept investing $400 monthly, but now added 50% of every raise to her investment account. She also started a side consulting business doing freelance marketing for small businesses. Small at first, maybe $500 a month. But she reinvested that profit into better tools, training, and eventually hiring help. Tom got a small raise to $62,000. Bought a nicer car to celebrate. Upgraded his apartment. Kept meaning to start investing but never found the right time. By 40, Rachel was making $120,000 from her job plus $30,000 from her now established consulting business. Her investments were worth about $180,000. Her consulting business was systematized enough that it ran semi-passively. Tom was making $75,000. His 401k had about $45,000. The gap was widening. Not because of one big decision. Because of hundreds of small decisions compounding. Rachel reinvested consulting profits into rental property. Bought a modest duplex. The tenants covered the mortgage. She refinanced 5 years later, pulled out equity, bought another property. Meanwhile, her stock investments continued growing. Tom finally started investing $200 a month at 40. Better late than never, but he'd miss.